I'm a mom. I live in the suburbs. It's who I am. It's my life. But I'm also, as you may have noticed, a pretty public, pretty vocal advocate for democracy, for women's reproductive rights, for fairness, equity, and equality for all Americans. Those things are also extremely important to me. For my kids, for your kids, for everyone. And the truth is that I get a ton of criticism for being exactly that. Vocal. I speak my mind, I share my thoughts, I speak openly and freely and honestly. And it pisses a lot of people off. In my mind, it pisses off those kinds of people because they see themselves in what I say and they don't like it. So they attack me personally all the time. I get called names, stories are made up about me being addicted to meth, etc., etc. It's honestly not even worth amplifying the crazy. But here's what it's not going to do. It's not going to stop me. It's not going to silence me. Rachel Vindman has known this kind of attack on a level exponentially more extreme than what I've ever known. Her husband stood up and spoke out about Donald Trump's attempted extortion of Ukraine's new president, Vladimir Zelensky. And for that, he was attacked ruthlessly by the Republican Party. He was fired from his job. His family faced daily death threats. They still get threatened. And what did Rachel do in response to all of that? She stayed strong. She stood up. She used her voice, her truth, and she continued to advocate for democracy. She does it every day because that is who she is. In this conversation, Rachel and I talk a lot about all of this. We talk about the upsides and the downsides to having sort of these public platforms. And we talk about being women in this world, in this environment, in this culture of social media and 24/7 access. We talk about being moms. She is an amazing and inspiring woman, and I am very, very, very lucky to call her my friend. I hope you enjoy. My guest today is my lovely friend, Rachel Vindman, someone, and this is true, I have to pinch myself a lot because I kind of can't believe that you're my friend now, like in real life. Well, it's true, and I get all fangirly whenever I talk to you because when I first became aware of you was on Twitter, and I was obviously very aware of your husband, Alex Vindman, because of his testimony in Trump's first impeachment, and I was really struck by his bravery and by his love for America and by his sort of just fierce independence, and again his love for America and his adherence to what is right. And then not only was he amazing, but then I see he's got this amazing wife who started popping up on my Twitter feed. And I was like, damn, she's amazing. She's tough and she doesn't pull any punches and she's honest and she's not afraid. And so I was a fan of yours from the very early days. And then, you know, our relationship on Twitter evolved into real life friendship. And you've actually shown up for me in ways that I can't go into necessarily, but that have changed my life for the better. And knowing I have you as an ally in my life has been a blessing. So I am so glad that you are here to have this conversation with me. And I'm also, again, just eternally grateful that I can call you a friend. So welcome.
Well, the feeling is mutual. I mean, you're pretty badass and out there also. And I think I just admire that in you. And I also love, and I think we'll get into this in a minute, I love that you're willing to be open and share your struggles because so many people aren't, whether it's in social media or frankly in real life. A lot of people aren't willing to share the hardship and they want to keep it inside. But I think if there's anything that this moment, whether it be the pandemic that started it, or, you know, whatever, this mental health crisis that we're all like truly dealing with now, that we have to be open and honest when we struggle. But we're going to get to the bad side of that because I think it also leads to, it leaves us very vulnerable, leaves us very vulnerable. So
It does. And that's definitely going to be part of this conversation because it is a choice. You and I have, larger sort of public platforms, and it is a choice to put ourselves out there,
Mm-hmm.
to leave ourselves vulnerable. There are pros and cons to that, as we will definitely explore.
Yeah.
But you also have sort of this added layer of being, public for what Alex, did,
Mm-hmm.
and who Alex is. And so that's a whole nother layer we'll also get into. But I wanted to start with you and your personality and your tenacity and your fearlessness. And I wanted to see if that's something, because that's who I know. Is that something that's
Mm-hmm.
always been true of you? And would you say there's been a journey to getting there?
Yeah, that's pretty much always been who I am. I'm on vacation right now with my youngest brother and his family. We're in Colorado. And I think if he were to walk in here, he would say, "Yep, that's who she's always been." I'm 8 years older than him, but I am the oldest of, I have two younger brothers. And I still boss them around. Like last night, he was grilling something and I didn't think he was doing it right. And I was very happy to tell him. And so, yeah, I mean, it's this thing. I think, I was just discussing this with a friend yesterday of like, we often will call girls bossy. And, but if a boy had the same characteristics, he would be a leader. So now, do I take liberties with my brother like I did last night? Of course I do. But the bottom line is, I'm not afraid to speak my mind and, say, what's on my mind, and advocate for myself. But that has probably been a journey. I mean, just to get to that point, because I think we start as one way with young girls and then we go through a phase. And my daughter's 12, so I can very much see that happening for her right now, where we kind of maybe take a step back and don't speak out so much. And then we sort of have to relearn it if we've forgotten it. And I grew up in Oklahoma, which is pretty conservative. I'm basically the same age as you. I didn't just, I'm 49. So about halfway to 50 at a 49th year. And I think it's certainly, it's been a journey, but mostly I think the seeds were already there. But being like snarky online and stuff, I mean, that's the sarcasm. That's totally my personality and always has been.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things about you. It's like it, and it's like almost sneaky and sly because you're like, oh, she's obviously articulate and intelligent, and then all of a sudden you're like, bam, like, oh, and she's like, she's got a little
But
edge.
I mean, sometimes you just have to say it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes some things just need to be said, and we've got to stop like walking around it or thinking or expecting that some people are going to do the right thing because they're not, and we just have to call it out. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I was going to get to later related to that, because there is this idea, you and I have heard it, I know we've heard it, where women aren't supposed to punch down, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to, when they go low, right? We go high, but we're supposed to take the high road. We're not supposed to get in the mud, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes with this culture that we inhabit now, sometimes you just do. You just have to get
Yeah.
right. You just have to go right back at them with the same level.
Joe, like, I'm just going to say it. Casey DeSantis' eyebrows look like shit. Okay. Like, it's a cautionary tale in microblading. I have friends who have done microblading. Their eyebrows look fine. Hers don't. Like, I know that it's not the done thing to talk about women's looks, but they're always talking about her looks. She's so beautiful. She's
Yeah.
so poised. Republican women are so elegant and they're so feminine and all this. And I'm like, her eyebrows are what you would take and be like, I want to get microbladed eyebrows, but I don't want them to look like this. And I mean, my point here, I'm being a little silly, but my
Oh, it's
point
great.
here is like, why does one side get to decide everything we talk about? And then we're like, oh my God. And ours like, no, 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 no. We absolutely cannot talk about someone's looks. We can't do this. But they're doing it. And frankly, they're weaponizing it because they're saying if you don't want to wear a dress and you don't want to wear like knee length or sorry, elbow length gloves, then you're
Yeah.
not feminine enough. You're not this like feminine ideal. And like I have a pretty traditional marriage. I mean, yeah, it's not something I'm proud of, but it is just, I mean, it's kind of whatever. It's the way our marriage has sort of evolved.
Yeah.
But and there are always seasons and stuff. So now he's home more and he participates more. But I'm not this person who's like, you have to do half the laundry and you have to cook half the time and all this. That's not me. That's not what I have.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't want someone saying, you need to look like this, you need to dress like this, you need to do this. And I think we can talk about this and we can joke about it without like censoring ourselves so much just to be silly.
Yeah, and I think it's also just not genuine necessarily most of the time.
Mhm.
Like, are you really going to censor yourself and your thoughts because Kirsten Sinema showed up at the State of the Union looking like, I don't even, like yellow marshmallow? I don't know, Big Bird's cousin? I mean, like...
And it was all to get attention. The reason she wore that color, the reason she wore that dress is because she wanted people to see her and she wanted people to talk about her.
Right. Right. And Casey DeSantis doesn't dress like a dollar store, Disney princess because she doesn't want us to notice.
No, it is sartorial choices meant to spark discussion and drive media. And if you cannot figure that out and call it out for what it is, I mean, this is the tactic that women use. And, right, wrong, or indifferent, it is. But I should be able to criticize it because they're doing it only for the attention that they want to get from it.
Right. And then it also kind of layers back to what you were talking about as, how little girls grow and evolve into learning when they can use their voices, when they can't use their voices. There's so much patriarchy built into all of that. Giselle Fetterman talks about, like you said, like framing, the way, if a boy pulls your hair, when we're young, we're taught that means that he likes us when it's really not. And we're also taught that, like, if a girl is assertive, that means she's bossy or bratty or whatever. And the same things, these same messages that have existed for girls growing up about what is acceptable for girls and not boys, or women and not men, exist today in social media and exist today in terms of, I believe, in the party framework. Like a Republican like Marjorie Taylor Greene can get away with anything, really. And for us to say that Marjorie Taylor Greene looks like a cave woman, which I didn't say, I didn't just say that, I did not just say that, but if we did say that out loud, we would be like, oh, they would say, oh, well, that's really punching down, you're not supposed to go after their looks, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I mean, that might be cruel, but still there is a complete and total double standard, both with gender and with party affiliation. Democrats, I think for far too long, have been afraid to get into the muck. And that's that's where the fight is right now. I don't think you could.
That is where the fight is. We are so out of all this other stuff that, like, this high-mindedness. And again, it's the self-censoring. Like, that's where the danger is, when we self-censor and we say we won't go there. And I think there is this thing that Republicans can and Democrats can't. And I get it to some extent, but not all of us are on that level. And I think some of us can say it a little bit. And also, let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene for just a second, and her friend, or her frenemy, Bobo. Like, marriage is hard. Divorce happens. I know you're divorced. I think nothing of it. Like, my friends or whatever, again, I know from experience, like, marriage is hard. It also takes two people and things happen.
Yeah.
So I am not criticizing them for that. What I want to criticize them for is, like, living in this glass house and setting themselves up and saying that there's some kind of, like, again, some ideal and, the picture of femininity. I mean, and all these things. Like, why not just say it with Bobo? Like, dude, I got married really young and we grew in different directions. And I would respect her. I mean, maybe, but I would respect, like, that comment from her. Maybe not her as a person, but if you were just willing to be honest and use this as a place of, like, it's okay. Like, there's forgiveness in this. And the same with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, why not just be honest about it? Because then you're in this place where you have to, like, skirt around it, and no one is helped by it.
There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this, and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry. If I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/political voices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.
Right. And the other thing that they do, and a lot of men and women in that party do, is they cloak themselves in this Christianity idea, right? Where they, they say that is what drives them, and that the Democrats hate God. That is a literal quote, that Joe Biden hates God, which is hysterical. But they cloak themselves in Christianity, and then they're the ones who, like in Marjorie Taylor Greene's case, committed adultery multiple times. And the hypocrisy is absolutely astounding, because to your point, if they were just like not doing that, or saying openly, like, hey, look, this is what happened, it sucked, like my marriage, I am divorced, and I'm pretty open about it, I'm pretty honest about it, and there's the hypocrisy component there, but there's also the other side of it, which is the authenticity that you bring, that I feel like I try very hard to bring, because in that authenticity, other people can actually see themselves and not feel judged. They can also feel, emboldened to lean into their own stories too. And I think that's what we were kind of touching on before. Setting aside that Republicans like Bobo and Marge are full of what. I think I can say shit. I don't really start on the rules, but on the flip side of that, the power of the authenticity of your stories and you being able to share your stories. And we'll get to the vulnerability side of that, but the power of the authenticity. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I only know how to be who I am. Like, I didn't change anything. And I am currently not on Twitter. There was an incident last week with my husband where someone called him a filthy lying Jew, and Twitter said it didn't break their rules. And so I'm pretty much done with Twitter, like, for the foreseeable future. But so I do have a red line, I will have to say. But this, there's this idea of so many people who said to me on Twitter that, oh, like, I'm an attention whore, like my husband. My husband is an attention whore, neither am I. And here's the thing, Joe. Here's the thing, is at the end of the day, I know who Rachel Vindman is. I know who Alex Vindman is. Like, I know who we are in our house. Like, when I went at Skippo and he accuses me of cheating, like, this is who we really are. We are really regular people. And like, we have like the quibbles and quabbles, and we, it's just like, we nerd out. I mean, and so by knowing this, it's like, this all is, it helps take out the noise of what people say, and that I can be authentic. And this is who I am and who we are. And I think that is essential if you're going to be on social media. So the people who think that I just do this for attention, I know they're wrong. So I can ignore that. And it's easy to get a one-dimensional picture of someone, and you have like these preconceived ideas. So then people just want to like fill that out and paint it out more. And I think this happens to you all the time. That people want you to be something. And so they find and they cherry pick information that they think like confirms that, confirmation bias. And we know this is a phenomenon and people do it. Why we do it, this to you, I know happens from the left and the right, from our own side. I mean, to me, I think it does to an extent as well. And I hope you can't hear the chaos that's going on in the room next to me. Okay. I think Zoom is pretty good about filtering things out. Yeah. But for instance, like, we're on vacation, kind of taking a breath. And I was just like, we recently moved at the beginning of this year. We moved to South Florida. I know, crazy, but we have really good friends there. And we moved, and I told Alex, like, for the first time really getting away, I've been able to kind of think about through this and think of, what we've been through. And I said, I like some of the stuff that goes on in DC. Like, it's nice to network and meet with people. And I was just back there a couple of weeks ago for a day. But I'll tell you, it's not genuine. It's not me. It's not who I am. I am better at working with like other people and talking to regular women and saying, how can we get more of your friends involved? How can we do this? And you and I both work with Red, Wine, and Blue. We both like, this is what we do. We try to get women like involved and energized and all this. And like, that just doesn't happen in DC. So, I told Alex, like, I'll never be accepted by that group, but that's okay. And he was like, they won't accept me either because they don't accept him for different reasons. Like he doesn't have, all this experience of like, well, it's complicated, but he was in the army. But, my point is like a lot of us in life will not be accepted. We will still do great things into space and there'll be this group that never accepts because we were never part of this like ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very much me. I think that's you to an extent as well, but we're also, I know both of us are doing really good and powerful things. And so you have to learn to let it go, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt sometimes. That's why I call you like, and and we like decompress, and I have other friends that I call and I know they know who I am and they'll tell me the truth and they'll say, hey, you were wrong about this, or you need to let it go and just, stop ragging on CNN because I did it Trump town hall because I think you're really like going over the edge, Rachel. And I need people to tell me that that's true. Like, because sometimes the way you react, all the time, the way you react to something can be more about you than it is about the thing that's happening.
Yeah.
And you need to have people to tell you that. But in terms of, not everyone has the platform we have, but I think you have to be very careful on social media and just be true to yourself and be able to walk away when you need to and give yourself that space and call a friend and, go for a walk or whatever it is that you do, but go out and live in the real world, touch grass, as Elon wants to say.
Right.
But it's not bad advice.
Yeah, I think it's funny for me too, because it was a journey getting to this place where I'm trying anyway. It's still a work in progress where I can differentiate, what people are saying about me that I know is baseless and what actually hurts me or gets in because, and I think to what you said about, people in your real life, Alex knows who you are, your family knows who you are, your friends know who you are, and the truth of Rachel and that. And knowing that, right? Knowing that whatever noise is out there, that whatever people are accusing you of being or doing, that at the end of the day, the people in your life, the people who matter, the people who know you, know that stuff's not true. So it does make it easier to sort of start to tune out some of the noise. But for me, there's always one or two things that really get in almost every time. And for my trolls who will no fucking doubt, love hearing this. It is when they say, and it's such total bullshit. Now I'm going down swear alley, but it obviously triggers me when they say that I had my kids taken away from me. It sends me to another fucking planet because and anyone in my life knows that they are my existence. And so it's stupid. It's baseless. They can call me a meth head. They can say I have an OnlyFans. They can call me a hooker. I don't give a shit. But it's when they say that shit about my kids, anything kid related. Yeah. And I snap.
No, I mean, that's my, no, people don't say that about me, but that would be the way to get to me would be through my child 100%. Because, first off, it's where I spend the majority of my freaking time and energy, my mental energy, my physical energy, taking care of her, organizing things, like making sure she has what she needs, plus like just thinking about it all the damn time. So to say that, I mean, in your case, I know you're the same and you're like schlepping to games and making meals and like whatever. I talked to you the other day and you were making your son a caprese salad. And I'm like, okay, well, I do not do that. But like, all this stuff, like we know. And so it becomes, because that's where we spend our time. We're not online all the time. That's what we're doing. And it's like to be offended in that place, you're like, no. I mean, not only do I love these humans I created and I love that, but also like, you're basically just dismissing and saying that like 90% of my day doesn't exist and it does. So.
Right. And it's funny because, and I say things are funny when they're not funny. I don't know why I do that. Maybe it's the Jerz in me. Yeah, but it's that vulnerable side too. And that's where that other side of, choosing to put ourselves out there, our authentic lives, who we are, how we feel, photos of ourselves on camera, making ourselves, again, vulnerable to every sort of attack, personally, looks, you name it. So that's something that I think a lot of other women might hesitate to speak out because of.
Yeah, I thought that too. I mean, I did an interview. I just read it recently. It came out whenever I did the Lincoln Project, with the Lincoln Project Vote Vets ad before the 2020 election. And I mean, I knew people were going to make fun of like my looks, my weight, everything, and they did. And again, I could I lose, 30 pounds? Yes. Am I as bad as people think I am? No, I don't really understand this. I mean, there are a lot of bad pictures on the internet that people like post and like, oh, look at this. And like, there is one that's like really exceptionally bad. I was like, forgot about this thing and I went to it and I was getting my hair done afterwards. And I do look at it and I'm like, I'm not proud of it. But I mean, there's a lot of pictures like that. So whatever. But then I could like
make them.
Yeah, I know, right? So whatever. But I said in this, like, I know people are going to say these things 100%. Like I'm aware. But do you think I don't know that I need to lose, like that I could lose 30 pounds? I do. Thanks for pointing it out. But it's not really none of your business. So that is like just something I think that comes with age, that comes with like just not caring as much anymore. But the first time it can be a little jarring. But I mean, I just think, who does this? Okay, and I know I just made fun of like Casey DeSantis' eyebrows, but again, like it's the same and it's different to me. I think, but again, I can let that go, which is a surprise to me and is absolutely like a maturation issue and something that it has just happened like later in my life for sure. But
yeah, I feel the same way about that. It was something that I was terrified of in the beginning, in terms of just putting myself out there, because I mean, I've really struggled with insecurity in my life. I was, very obese after I had Abby. I was like 240 pounds and I was overweight in high school, and I've been teased my whole life. I did a whole Substack about bullies yesterday because I'm still being bullied online. And I know largely in many ways, so are you. But yeah, so it's like, it's a journey to get to this place where you're like, fuck it, I don't care. I know what I look like. I know one of my eyes isn't exactly lined up with the other eye. That's the way I was born. You know what I mean? People will find a way to point it out.
They will like, yeah.
Yeah. But we're putting ourselves out there. So that's the choice.
And I think you have to do that. But I mean, it's also at a moment of like standing up for what's important and what matters to me. And so if that's going to give people ammunition, I mean, people also constantly say that my husband is fat. And he just walked in the room when I was saying that, like for real.
I can confirm neither one of you is fat.
I mean, the thing is like, they're only seeing like a portion of him, and he has like this Eastern European face that is big, but like the rest of him is not. And so like, again, it's just silly. Like you can say it but it doesn't have to make it true.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women are nervous to put themselves out there in so many spaces, because even like standing up and speaking at a school board meeting, because they're so intimidated and know that it's going to be so judged by their looks, and so much is going to be a factor. But like, this is kind of an all hands on deck moment. We got to get over ourselves. Okay. Like this is not, we don't really have the luxury to do that right now. We need to just get on with it and work on yourself on your own time. And then let's get to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. That's why I was just thinking in the midst of listening to you talk about that, because it's like, yeah, we know what's going to come with this. We know what's going to come with putting ourselves out there, but that's how effing important what we want to say, what we want to stand up for, what we want to advocate for that's how important it is that we're willing to put ourselves out there. And, no one likes to be criticized for their looks. No one likes to be called a meth head. I mean, which is funny because I think I've smoked pot twice in my life, but we don't like that shit. But we can work through it and sift out our ways out of it, because what we want to say is that important. And the stories, we talked about this at the beginning, the stories that we want to share so that other women and men and human beings can feel emboldened and empowered to come forward and also share, can really make an impact, I believe, on society. I truly believe that.
I do too, because what we're saying is you have the tools to do this, and this moment calls for it. So just do it. Like you can do this. And that's the the organization that we work with, Red, White, Blue, that's what we're all about, is having those conversations. But you can't have those conversations if you're worried about what people are going to think about you and say about you. And I mean, this is something I hear from a lot of women, that they're afraid in their communities. But I also hear that when they do it and when they speak out, they find that there are people who are like-minded, who share their views, but they've also just been afraid to say something for whatever reason. I mean, we all have our own baggage, so you don't know what it is, but when you speak out, I think you will find some people who are like-minded, some people that you can work with, and with that group, you can really start to make a difference in your community, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I couldn't have said that better. I mean, there is this, we talk about community so often, there is this power in community, but you know what I mean? And it can be, a broader community like Red, Wine, and Blue, or it could be just, your friend group or your peer group, or finding people online. Like I found people like you who sort of pave a path for you to feel like you can follow. And then once you're in that path, it really does empower you, and then others follow, and then you build this momentum that is very powerful. And I just quickly wanted to touch on, because we're both mothers of daughters, what we're navigating right now in this post-Dobbs world. We're raising my son too, but particularly as it relates to our daughters having fewer rights than we did when we were their age. I can feel very disheartening and can feel very dispiriting. And I know that your daughter is largely your why, like my kids are mine. And so there's two sides of that too. So there's the side of that makes you want to fight, right? But is there also the side of it that you feel dispirited by? And then how do we navigate that? How do we navigate feeling like hopeless about that?
There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/political voices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.
Well, I remember when my father passed away, we lived in Ukraine. My daughter wasn't born yet. And I remember that I had actually just returned from Ukraine, and I got a call. Returned from the US, and I got a call that he had passed away, and we had to wait until morning. It was night, and we had to wait until morning before we could fly out and fly home. And I just remember telling Alex, like, I just want to do something. I wish I could do something, because that's me. Like, when something goes wrong, I just want to do something. I want to move. I want to make a decision like right then, and feel like whether I'm doing anything constructive or not, I feel like I want to do something. But, for a long time, my why, a long time my advocacy, which is like not a long time, but for a long time, my why was just like, kind of need to save democracy. And yes, it's very personal to me, because I see what happened to our family, and I know what could happen if, say Donald Trump had been elected again, all this stuff. But then when the Dobbs decision came down, you're right, it totally changed. And I was already working with Red, White, and Blue. I was already part of our podcast, The Suburban Women Problem. I already had a pretty big platform, and my why changed a lot. So I feel very strongly, and it's still, I think, nests in this issue of democracy, and it's still part of it, but it's much more personal to me. And I get out of that feeling of hopelessness by doing something. And so anytime I start to feel that way, to me, I do something that I think is meaningful, whether it's like reaching out to a local, since we moved, like the local Moms Demand chapter, planning fundraisers at our house for local politicians, things like this. And but you don't have to you can host a fundraiser at your house. And I can assure you, I've been to fundraisers in the most humble of houses. No one should like self-select from doing that, because if you raise $500, that's meaningful for a local candidate, and you should do that. So it is just really a place where I think do something, and that'll get you out of that place of feeling hopeless. And that's always been my go-to in life, of like, let's do something now. And then I think you can say, okay, I can make a difference. And it may only make a difference like right here, but I mean, you're building, and then eventually, there's so much power in that, because people see you. Not only are you making a difference in that one thing, whatever it is you choose to do, but then people can see you and be inspired by you. And that's really what it's all about. So that's why I put myself out there. That's why I do podcasts with my hair up and my pajama pants on and no makeup. And you know what? And again, it's like, fuck it. I don't care. I mean, judge me if you want, but I'm going to make a difference. And I don't have to do hair and makeup for 3 hours in order to have this confidence. And I also don't have the time or energy to do that. I'd rather read a book and then just, get on when it's time. And that's my choice. So I think I keep saying this thing about don't self-select your way out of it. It was a theme in Alex's book. And I'd never heard him say that, but when he wrote it, it's been so powerful to me, and a really like just something that's so inspirational. Like, don't take yourself out of the fight. Don't think that you can't make a difference, because you really can. And in ways big and small. And we know as parents, we tell our kids, we got to start with the small stuff first, and you can't move on to something else until you do those little things. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. This is real quick. A friend of mine, her daughter is 16, and she was going to get a job. And I was like, well, she found a job. And she goes, well, the only jobs she can get are like, jobs that 16-year-olds get. And she doesn't want to do that because she wants to make a difference. And I just like literally laughed out loud, because I think that's so funny. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
But like life no one starts there, like making a difference. How about you just go get a job and learn some skills and learn how to work with people, and learn how to like navigate in this place. It's not home, and it's not school, and it's not your friend group. And, you do this, but it's funny, but it's also so true of like, people just, want to start out doing like the big things. And I think, a lot of our children see that, but you got to start with the small stuff. Everyone does, and everything. So no matter where you are, you can start. And you're going to learn skills in that place that you're going to be able to take forward and make a difference in so many places.
I love that. I mean, I don't think there's a better message to end that portion of the conversation on, because I think that people underestimate their value so often. And when you talked about Alex, I didn't read the book. I'm sorry, Alex.
It's okay.
I love you. But,
it's okay.
But I love that idea. It kind of gave me chills a little bit, because I mean, I guess it would have been much easier, right, for Alex to have thought, well, I'm not going to change anything. I don't want to stand up, speak out. I'm just, one guy in this administration. But he didn't, obviously, and he knew he had individual power, just like you have individual power, and just like I do. Even though we might not be, like you said at the top, kind of like in that ecosystem, we're not establishment, blah blah blah. But everyone is looking for something different, something that feels genuine to them out there, something that resonates with them. And maybe that's your voice, maybe it's mine, certainly Alex's, yours and Alex's resonated with me, but no one should ever take themselves out of that equation. I agree. And the more of us that do that, the better off we'll all be, because then together we are stronger together. Someone said that once. I can't remember. I'm just kidding. So I think that's a great message to end the meat of this conversation. And I know you have to go. So I'm going to be very quick with my rapid fire round.
Okay. I'll try to be quick with my answers. Okay.
So this has become my favorite portion of every conversation, because it's very revealing sometimes. I don't ask. I don't know. Like, I found out a lot of people that I don't love. A lot of people I love I don't love that they put ketchup on eggs, but I digress. Because y'all, that's an abomination. And I'm not even going to ask you, Rachel, because I love you and I don't want to know. So
I don't. Okay, thanks. Salsa, but no ketchup.
Okay, salsa, hot sauce, all good. Ketchup, No. Ketchup? No. Okay, so the first question is a food question. Are you, because I feel like people are one or the other, are you a sweets person or a savory person?
I think a savory person, but as we know, sugar is addictive. And as I've gotten older, I think I have more of a sweet tooth. So I really have to control that.
And what's your,
I've,
if you were to go to any confection, what would it be?
I liked baked goods
Mm.
and also chocolate. But so speaking of weight and issues, this is again not good with the rapid fire. I've lost like 35 pounds this year from just like
Woo!
eating healthy and moving a lot. So like also some stress, not gonna lie with the move. It was pretty stressful. But because we moved to South Florida, there was just, a lot more walking the dogs, a lot more pleasant and just, just moving.
That's awesome.
But
Look
yeah,
at that.
I have to say, I've seen pictures of Ron DeSantis and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who are both rumored to use like the weight loss drugs. And I'm just going to say they look fabulous. So this is a place I can just agree, like, do something that makes you feel good about yourself. And
Yeah.
do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But I think they look good. I wish they use their powers for good and not evil, both of them.
Oh yeah, that would be nice. But that would also be like flipping.
Like maybe if they feel better about themselves, they'll be nicer to others. I don't know. It can't hurt, right?
I mean, Sarah Sanders' brother killed a dog, but maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I mean,
I guess anything's possible, but you look amazing and congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
It's all about both how you feel about yourself and being healthy, which is super important.
Yeah. So I just have to really limit my access to sweets because I kind of have no control.
Yeah. I had to rule out most of the like simple carbs. I took away bread and rice and pasta, and I hate it because those are my favorite foods. There was definitely my weakness, but I try to limit them as much as possible.
And when you do that, I think that the sugar cravings do go down. Like this is, like, I was skeptical, but it is true for me, I must say.
Yeah, agree. Totally. Okay, quickly. Okay. Oh, this one. And I don't know how you're gonna answer it fast, but you could just give me a one-word answer. If you could be invisible or read minds for one day, which would you choose?
Probably invisible. Yeah, I don't want to know what people are thinking.
Right? I feel like knowing what people are thinking when you're not invisible. Yeah. Although when you're invisible, maybe they'll talk about you, and that might not be fun.
Yeah, I mean that is something that entered my mind, but it's still better than like being constantly confronted with people's thoughts.
Yeah, I don't want to say that I would like use my invisible powers to trespass into people's houses, but like,
I would. I'm a snooper. Just gonna say it. I am.
Like I'm in Jill Biden's like bathroom.
Yeah, I would like use it to go and find out about people who maybe don't even know me at all, but just be like, so is this real or not? And I just want to like go and listen and see, but I don't want to hear their thought.
Yeah,
like,
good idea. Yeah, like I want to go see if Chrissy Teigen and John Legend actually eat babies. I'm kidding. Like, yeah. The QAnon
all will be revealed. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the last question is this simple. Okay, you and I both love Disney. What is your favorite Disney World ride or attraction?
Soarin' at Epcot.
Ooh, that's a good one. That is tough to beat. That is a very good one.
I'm the only one in my family. I mean, they like it, but I actually love it. Guardians of the Galaxy, the new roller coaster, is nice. It is really, really nice. And I had the opportunity to do it 3 times last time we were there in December. But Soarin' is it's a perennial favorite for me. So
it is. Yeah, no, I guess I'd put that in my top 2, but I'm weird. I'm so sentimental about Dumbo that I still put, even though they changed it.
Yeah.
Even though they changed it. It's not the ride we grew up with. I loved what they did with the ride up, but I'm such a sap. You might know this about me. I cry very easily, and I cry every time I go on Dumbo with my kids because my dad went on it with me, and it feels like my dad is there somehow. So
I love it.
Totally.
I mean, I think it's okay to be a sap in that way because you have something that was so meaningful to you and that power. I mean, the saying is true. Like it hurts when you lose someone because that's the price of loving someone. And it's cheesy. It's like something that would be on a pillow or something that would buy at Hobby Lobby, but that was made in China. But it's also really true and powerful. It's like that is the price. And I mean, when we think about the price we would pay for things, that's a price that I'm willing to pay. So
me too. Yeah, I love that. What a beautiful message to leave this on. Well, Rachel, what do you got going on? Anything coming up exciting? Anything you want?
I'm going to record my podcast and then we're going to finish out our last couple days in Breckenridge, and then I'm going to go back and get back to it. We're hosting our Jewish Community Center in the Fort Lauderdale area is hosting the Maccabi Games, which is like the Jewish Olympics for young people. And we're going to be hosting a big group, and we have some friends visiting. So I have a very busy few weeks before school starts, and I am looking forward to all of it. So it's nice to refresh and recharge and then go back and
Awesome.
get back to real life.
Yeah. And your podcast is The Suburban Women Problem.
Yes.
And it's weekly, right? Every week.
Yes. So this is our last episode. Then we're going to take a little break with some interesting episodes in August, which I don't know, maybe you're a part of that. I don't know. And then we'll be back, I guess, in September. But
Awesome.
This is our last regular episode of this season.
Awesome. And you just had your 100th, right? So you're on your...
We did, yeah. So this is like the third season, and we just
Awesome.
celebrated our 100th episode. And I don't really know like how the seasons work. I'm not quite sure. They don't tell me those things. I just show up. So,
well, it's awesome. It's an awesome podcast. You are an incredible person. I told you at the top of this that I am honestly, like, I do pinch myself a lot, not like literally, because that would be weird, but but that I have the great fortune of having you in my life and my children's lives, and that means everything to me. So,
well, in all sincerity, I am so glad that we are friends, and I love that you are my friend, and that I can proudly say you are a good friend, a loyal friend, a true friend. And that's, well, I mean, if people wonder, and with all the stuff that's out there about whether someone, is just in it for themselves or what they are. And I know that's not the case with you. And I would testify to that any time I needed to, because I know it to be very true. And again, online, people are only seeing someone in just a really one-dimensional way, and that's not fair. But it's reality. I mean, that's how it is. But I can just say that that's not the case for you, and I'm so glad that we're friends. And thanks for having me on. This is fun.
Thanks for being on, and say hi to Alex and everybody for me.
Okay,
all
will
right,
do. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining me. And if you are listening to the Are You Effing Kidding Me podcast, make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe below.
There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.